I want to welcome you all to today's Pink Power Alliance Zoominar. We're going to be talking about breaking through race and gender barriers. Hi, everybody. It's so great to see your beautiful faces popping up on screen right now as we start. I know we have folks from all over the country joining us. I'm Cynthia Good and just really happy everybody is here today. We're going to go ahead and just jump right into this topic. It's an important one. We've been talking a lot about diversity in companies. We know that there's still an imbalance, a big imbalance, pretty much across industries in many corporations. Depending on the statistics you look at, they're pretty much the same. So one example, between 2014 and 2020, that's a 6-year period. This is at Facebook. Black and Latin workers, the number of Black and Latin workers rose by just 2% over that period of time. Some of the most recent data collected at Google showed that there are only 5 Black female executives. That's among their top 357 officers. So that's not even 1.5%. We're seeing changes. I think an example of that is the fact that we're offering the Pink Power Alliance, and more of the companies are joining and participating and encouraging their women to really develop those skills so they could then advance to the next level. We will, I hope and believe, begin to see the changes resulting in the overall metrics. We're going to talk about what companies can do and are doing. We're going to talk about that in our next month's Pink Power Alliance Zoominar. But today, we're talking about what we can do as women. How can we break through? What are some wonderful action items that we can take now that are going to lead to results? And we've got some fantastic experts for you today. You're going to really appreciate this. We've got a wonderful career coach who is with us, who I want to give a shout out to and say hello, Stephanie Heath. She helps former workaholics and soft-spoken professionals land roles that speak to their souls. I love that, Stephanie. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, ladies. I'm excited to be here.
So happy you're here. Why, Stephanie, are you so passionate about this?
I'll be honest. So I'm a job search coach, and I built a career in recruitment. And just being a recruiter and seeing how candidates from Europe or American countries, America, are treated, and seeing the difference in how they're treated, it makes me really passionate about speaking to women of color and people of color. So.
Awesome. Well, that's beautiful. Well, we can't wait to hear more of your expertise. I know you've got a lot to share. Also want everybody to meet Carmen McCloud Whitaker. She is the key account director at IHG Global Sales. I've watched Carmen over the years. She has broken through. She is also the lean in chair for the company. Hey, Carmen, how's it going?
It's going well, Cynthia. How are you?
I'm great. Tell everybody just a real quick snapshot how you think you have been able to break through some of these barriers.
I think it just is sort of bred in me. It was my upbringing, from my parents to being in an HBCU to just a village that raised me back in Westland and Inkster, Michigan. Literally just poured into me that you can do anything that you put your mind to. So whenever I come across a rejection, and I actually have, I ask for feedback. And when I get the feedback, I utilize it and come back a second time and usually get it. I have yet to do a third. So I have to say it's tenacity and knowing what you've have had poured into you and being able to take that to the table when you've had that rejection and, just having an attitude of success and that you can succeed.
I love that. Okay, we're going to hear more about that. And finally, it is my honor to introduce everybody to FlyGirl. You probably already know who she is, Vernice Armour, America's first African-American female combat pilot. We are so lucky to have Vernice with us. How's it going, Vernice?
I mean, absolutely fantastic. Every day is another day to create something amazing, right? No matter how crappy it was the day before or even a moment before. So.
Amazing, gorgeous. Okay, can't wait to hear more about your story in just a moment. But first, we want to hear from everybody who's participating today. We want everybody to weigh in. We want to know where you are now. So Lisa from the Pink team is going to pop up the first question that we have for you about these barriers. And the question is, how optimistic are you that you can break through barriers to advance your career and achieve your goals? This is anonymous, so we want to know really how you're feeling about this. So go ahead and pick one of those choices. Your choices are, okay, I'm very optimistic I can break through existing barriers. I am somewhat optimistic I can break through barriers. Sometimes I feel the challenges are too great to achieve my goals. And then finally, I am not optimistic I can break through these barriers. I mean, they've been entrenched and around a long, long time. So go ahead and submit your answer and we'll pop that up on the screen. And then I've got one more question for everybody. And then we'll find out from Vernice. I'd love to know what she thinks about this. Okay. Well, there we go. I hope you can see the results on your screen. 57%, that's the winner of those joining us today, are somewhat optimistic they can break through the barriers, followed by I'm very optimistic. Obviously, the group of women on this Zoominar, these women, everyone here is very focused on this, very high potential, so I'm not surprised to see that strong 30% say they can. Nobody feels it's impossible. So that's good. And, interesting, somewhat optimistic. So we want to make everybody more optimistic, right? I think that's a good goal for this conversation, to make everybody more optimistic. All right. And Lisa, do we have one more poll for everybody? Let's pop up that other poll. I would like more tools to break through barriers in order to. And Lisa, I think everybody can pick one, right? What is most important to you? Is that correct, Lisa?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, so pick the one that's most important to you. You want to break through to empower others, to manage others, to work better with your colleagues, have easier conversations with a boss, to ask for a promotion, to be able to share more of yourself at work, and to feel more comfortable in the existing culture. So go ahead and submit your question. And we'll see what the results are momentarily. To better empower others. Wow, that is so beautiful. So 38% to better empower others. And then followed by work better with colleagues and to ask for a promotion. So we should really focus on those things. Work better with colleagues and ask for a promotion. So with that said, Vernice, does this surprise you? So
Did you
Vernice,
hear my answer? Did you hear
Yes.
my answer? Or because I was on mute, you couldn't hear a thing? So no, it actually does not surprise me, because women were nurtured, and I know some people could say that's a sexist comment right there, right? But women, we are nurturers, and we do want to lift each other up. And that's a big part of, I think, the narrative that has been in women's leadership, and especially today, when you climb the corporate ladder, reach back and pull somebody up. If you take the elevator, if the elevator, we have all these little sayings. So to better empower each other. And as I was looking at that, I was looking for the answer that was just for life, right? I want to break through the barriers to have an amazing, fun, epic, adventurous life. And it was all focused on business or our career. And that was the only one that wasn't necessarily focused on us, right? So it totally made sense. And when we can break through the barriers at work and just in life in general, I mean, I got pulled over the day the verdict came back for Derek Chauvin. And it was crazy because I pulled over, I saw the blue lights, I pulled over to get out the way, then the cop got behind me and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm in Florida, had just landed, rented a Tesla, which was fun. Looked at my friend, I was like, was I speeding? She's like, no. And he comes up, is this your car? Is this your vehicle? I said, no, it's a rental. Do you have the paperwork? No, it's through the app. You don't have any pay. So he's grilling me and I'm like, look, it's like Uber, it's through the app. And I already had my license out, hands at 10 and 2, just like my dad taught me, right? He goes back, comes back. You sure you don't have any paperwork? No. And at this point, I still haven't asked him, why did you pull me over? And he said, well, there's a cover on the license plate that's illegal and you should have the owner come and take it off. And I'm thinking, okay, the cover on the license plate, are you kidding me? So and being a former police officer, right?
Right.
It's, I don't say I see both sides, because to me, there's only one side. Us in it together. How do we move forward to create a culture in our lives, in our careers, in our companies, right, that want to move us forward? So I won't go on a huge tangent or anything like that. I'll let you ask me some questions, but obviously I have a lot to say on the topic. I'm very passionate about it. And I do think, I know there are some things that we can do on a personal level that move us forward, whether at work or in our community.
Well, Vernice, I mean, jump into it a little bit more. How did you break through all those barriers? The first Black female combat pilot. I mean, nobody does that. You were the only one. What did it take? Like, you know, pretty. I mean, Carmen said the attitude, you know, the belief system, asking for feedback, tenacity. I love that. But tell us a couple, like, really specific things. Like, you knocked on that door and you said, look. I mean, what did you do, you know, so that we can see and understand, and so that we can do that too?
So Carmen said it really well, the tenacity, right? And I call it the resilience. Yes, a lot of us have heard and used that word, but it's the reattack. And as an attack helicopter pilot, of course, I love that terminology, right? There are only two ways to succeed, period, end of story. That is my firm belief. There are only two ways to succeed. Now we have maybe 10 people on, 15 people on video. If you want to come off video to answer this question, please do. If you feel there are two ways to succeed and that's it, and you feel I'm correct, raise your hand. Okay, for those of you that can't see because you're only listening to audio, no one raised their hand. That's like rare. There's usually one brave person. Okay, if you feel there are more than two ways to succeed, raise your hand. Okay, that's about right. So for those of you that are only on audio and cannot see video, 85% of folks raise their hand. So that other 15%, they're probably just waiting to see what I'm going to say because they're not sure. There are only two ways to succeed: the first time, or again, or again, or again, or again, or again. That's the secret of the reattack, right? So when I decided to become a Marine, you don't join the Marines, you become a Marine. Yes, I did work for recruiting for just a little bit. The first time I filled out that application to become or to go to officer candidate school, I was declined. The second time I was declined. Now, mind you, women could only apply once a year. And the attrition rate of reapplicants was 80%. Over 80% of applicants did not reapply. All right, that's a huge number. So year two, I reapply again, decline. Year three, reapply again, decline. At this point in year four, because most people have gone on, gotten another job, they have a whole nother career at this point, right? Because you're early 20s. I'm an anomaly. They're thinking, okay, this chick's not going away, right? So I actually get accepted and I become an officer. I go to flight school and all that stuff. But in that last year, I'll readily admit, I was like, I don't want to. I just moved out to Phoenix. I was a police officer in Tempe, Arizona. My first police department was Nashville. And I said, you know what? It's now or never, because there's an age limit to becoming a pilot in the Marine Corps. So I applied that one last time. Had I not applied, I wouldn't have the life I have. We would not be sharing this moment right here. And would I have an amazing life? Probably, because I'm going to make it amazing no matter what. But it wouldn't be this one and the epic, juicy, amazing adventure that I've had. So I absolutely believe in the power of the reattack and continuing to go for it, no matter what the barriers, challenges, and resistance shows up to be.
I love it. I love it. Okay, that is just a great way to kick it off. Let's see. It's a quarter after. Stephanie, what did you think about what Vernice said, and what can you add to that? What have you seen out there as a career coach? What is it that distinguishes those who do break through from those who don't? Is it just a matter of the reattack, trying again and again and again? And what else do you see?
There's more. And Stephanie, don't mute yourself, Stephanie. Take that microphone back off. I just wanted to I know there's more, so go ahead.
Yeah, my sound is really glitchy today, so that's
We
why.
can hear you loud and clear. Just jump right in.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. In the job search, that would just be being really systematic, and for example, having a certain amount of positions that you want to apply to every day, so that you're not getting in your head and focusing on things that aren't going to help your search, and then potentially reaching out to people, networking with people that may look intimidating, crafting an authentic message to them. People love to help. So I do love the reattack, and that's how you could probably think about it if you're looking to elevate into a new position.
Yeah, Stephanie, that's a really good point. I want to welcome some of the new members of the Pink Power Alliance. We have 25 amazing women, emerging women leaders who are joining us from Southern Company. And I think what you said is really, important. Find out internally too, what sort of opportunities there are and see how those align. So we want to look more into that. First, we have an opportunity now just to move everybody into a breakout session. We're going to do that momentarily. It's going to be super quick. I'll go back to Vernice. Jump in.
Okay, I'm not on mute. Real quick, before
Yes.
people, because I want folks to have this when they go into their breakout session, right? On my t-shirt, what's it say? A closed mouth don't get fed, right? My granny always said that, right? And when you look at the barriers and obstacles, some of the barriers and obstacles we have are, and I will put it as the average white guy. When I go out, people say, oh, did you suffer from racism, sexism? I'm like, well, yeah, but combat was hard. Police academy was hard. Becoming a Marine was hard. Flight school, everybody has challenges and obstacles. Even the average white guy has challenges and obstacles. The key was acknowledge the obstacles. Don't give them power, right? Acknowledge the obstacles. Don't give them power. And the added part to that would be find the solution and focus on taking action. Now, there are different ways we can take action, which is what we're going to talk about, when we go into the breakout rooms and when we come back. But how do we take that action, especially when you have, I'll put it 3 categories. The golden boy, which is the guy who goes into the job. A senior guy says, oh man, he reminds me of myself when I was young, and he takes him under his wing and he gets all these opportunities. Then you have the average white guy that gets some opportunities, doesn't get some opportunities, makes his way. Then you have the underdog white guy who's gotten pounded, and he feels like, what? White guys don't get all the opportunities. What are you talking about? I've been pounded. So then the golden boy kind of hides behind the average guy and the pounded guy. And so there's this thing of why should minorities get preferential treatment when I've been stomped on my whole life, right? So there are quite a few things that we're battling. And oh, by the way, when you just look at statistics and what is white guys run the world, right? When you look at our Congress, when you look at our Senate, we're still breaking barriers with the first woman doing this, or with the first person of color doing, or the first LGBTQ plus, doing this. So let's not be fooled by who is running things or who is in power, and how do we create partnership and allies with those that agree with not just the right thing to do, but what's really best for our country, our company, our communities, right? So just wanted to throw that out there.
I love it. And, it's so important. And one of the goals we have for this program is that everyone who's part of this, especially I'm saying this to the Southern Company women, we really want to encourage you to speak up. That's what Vernice said on her shirt. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. I'd love to see more of that. And this is an opportunity, even here, to have that kind of visibility. We're going to go into the breakout groups. I do want to get back to Stephanie real quick, but I want to invite everybody to address the question that Lisa has put in the chat, because we want to know privately, she's going to be turning off the recording, not yet, but in a minute, where the stumbling blocks have been and are for you. What barriers are you facing? What has worked and what doesn't? And then we're going to come back and talk about that. Before you go in, I want everybody to take a moment, look around, find something in your environment that you don't want anymore. And when you go into your breakout room, share, introduce yourself and share what the thing is and why, and then let's launch into that conversation. So we're going to give you a few words from Stephanie before we put everybody into breakout. Steph?
Awesome. So yeah, we could talk about just some issues that pop up for women of color in the job search. Again, you guys, I'm a job search career coach, and I'd love to just share some of the areas that I've seen, you know, women focus on to be able to get a really high offer at a company that works well for them. So the first thing is that when you enter the job search, on that first conversation, be aware of what you can ask for in terms of salary. I like to recommend that candidates ask for 5K or 10K more than what they usually want. Be well researched, and then just tack on that extra bit, because I've just seen soft-spoken people not able to get the salary that they're looking for because they come in asking for what they're actually looking for. So that would be the first recommendation for you guys. The second is make it an intentional point to check in with yourself during the interview process. So for someone like me, you know, maybe we are trying to fit into the box and to people please and to be what the company's looking for, when, you know, what will happen is that you may not stay with that company for a long time if you're trying to smile the right way, laugh the right way, and speak the right way. So if you're finding that 30% of the people that you're speaking to, you just can't feel comfortable with, then I'd like to invite you to maybe not accept that offer. And a great way to do that would be to have a high volume application strategy in the beginning, so that you have a lot of interviews happening, and you ideally have multiple offers at the end, and then you can kind of pick and choose from things. And so I think that will help you out a lot.
I think those are some great suggestions. Thanks, Stephanie. And I know a lot of the women we're talking with are in corporations with many, many different divisions and opportunities, and some probably have an alignment better than others. And, you know, many of these organizations, the women are first-time supervisors, you know, so there may be a disconnect in terms of the culture, but there also is a huge opportunity, I think, to shift that. And we're watching this take place in real time. So it's really interesting to see that shift. So we're going to talk more about this. Lisa's going to go ahead and put everybody in their breakout sessions now. Find your object and introduce yourself and enjoy. We'll see you back in a few minutes. And Lisa will stop the recording now. All right, welcome back, everybody. Nice to see everybody streaming back in. We'll give a few more seconds for everybody else to join us. Thinking about the data that we generated at the top, and Vernice, just a little note.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we really want to tackle, you know, Stephanie talked about getting the job. I think promotion is a big focus. And I think given the data that we generated today, how do we help each other? How do we be supportive of one another? You know, if you're another woman and you're white, you know, how do we help each other move into that role, that desired role? So I'm going to throw that out there. And does anyone want to share? Annette, I always love starting with you. What happened in your breakout session? Annette Turabasso is one of our featured coaches, everybody. Definitely, you should know Annette. What happened?
So I got some feedback in the breakout. I'm okay here?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. First of all, Vernice, it's lovely to see you again. I told Cynthia how fantastic you are. Vernice has spoken at least twice at Deloitte University, where I'm a retired partner, and I've taught our Women in Leadership course there, and she is phenomenal. Red hot, right? Red hot.
Thank you. I'm gonna take you on tour with me, like, or you can be my marketing person, something,
Oh, Vernice,
right?
she's got photographs. I mean, seriously, I got to send you these photographs. It's really cool.
I sent Cynthia a photograph of you and I. Anyways,
Okay.
so just quickly, the barriers that were discussed are sometimes your personality. You might be a little more soft-spoken. You may not enjoy networking, or even if you're not soft-spoken, and people might make assumptions about you because you are a certain, you know, you're a woman or a certain race. So how do you break through some of those assumptions? So those were, I'm summarizing obviously some of the barriers. I offered 2 tips in the session, one of which was, and regardless whether you're soft-spoken or not, as Cynthia knows, I am not, if you're in a meeting, just say something and get it out there first. Get it out there, because I'm not soft-spoken. I would go to some smaller partner meetings, and we'd sit around, and when I was a new partner, we'd sit around, and the guys, most of them are men at Deloitte. The guys would sit around, they talk about this, and I wouldn't say anything because I thought everything's been said. Why are we pontificating? I got feedback. You're not a very quiet person, but you're very shy in these meetings. And I'm just like, well, so I changed my attitude. I was like the first one out there with a comment. I would just boom, and I'm like, thank God it's over. I could sit around and whatever, listen to all this junk. So that was one tip. And I think just getting it out, saying something early, and then you'll build confidence over time. The other was I've observed just through, my experience networking, men and women network very differently. Men network with a purpose, and women network to go and see who they'll meet, and maybe they'll have a good time, and maybe they'll learn something, and it'll be fun. When I share this with women, they say, oh no, I network with a purpose. So the purpose that men often have is, I just need to get in here. I need to be seen. I need to meet the CEO. I need someone to know that this is what I do. I need to ask this person for something. I need to show them my wife. I need to do this. So my tip there is, when you go to a networking event or the next little pink book empowerment lunch, go with a purpose. And whether that is, I want to meet 3 people that can help me with this, or I need someone to know I am, searching for a job, or I want so many business cards that relate to my network. Just have some purpose. It could be just anything. And once you, satisfy that goal, enjoy the rest of the day, the event, or, go home, because most of the men did.
I love it. Thanks so much, Annette. That was fantastic. Let's go to one more facilitator really quick, super quick. Adele, what happened in your session? Adele is one of our other featured coaches for Pink, and she's amazing. Adele, what did you learn?
We had an amazing conversation. So some themes came up around what holds you back. And it could be around age. It could be around being seen a certain way. It could be around, I'm waiting for my moment. And my suggestion, I asked all my women to write this down, and I want everyone to write this down. Attention is your number one currency in business. Your ability to attract and hold attention. This is a quality that women have not been encouraged to do. It's seen as being whatever. Men don't seem to have this problem of, I want you to see me. And so I think women have been coached. It's subconscious. A lot of these things I was saying, if it's swimming around out there with men and how they see women, we've sort of internalized it. So we're looking to them to change, but inside I'm already holding back. I asked once and they said no, and I stopped asking again. Or maybe I am, I shouldn't keep asking. We're doing it to ourselves. Mm-hmm. So I have found it more productive to notice where I shrink in the limelight and practice staying present.
All right.
I loved Annette's discussion, speaking out, because there's a word that starts with a B that's been lobbed at women. There is no equivalent for men, but it's very disempowering. It means don't take up too much space. Don't be too loud. Don't think you're all that. Don't ask for the recognition. So there's this automatic shrinking of the energy in women, and that's working against us. So my suggestion was, at least look at where we're clogged inside, because we know it's messed up out there, but we can do what we can inside to keep going. So we don't want to do it like them.
Right. Okay, great. Yeah. Thank you, Adele. Yeah, I mean okay, Annette, Adele, these are definitely, Vernice, common themes. Yeah. You can't get your promotion unless you're seen. You can't get your promotion unless somebody knows you want it. So how do we go from what Adele said, that shrinking, this subtle discrimination in the workforce, you don't even want to deal with it. It's dicey, it's uncomfortable. So the tendency is just to not. Help us with this, Vernice, so that we can get everybody on this Zoominar promoted.
Absolutely. So that's why I started the Gutsy Confidence Project. It's all about closed mouth don't get fed, stepping up, being bold. So what is gutsy confidence? Well, it came from a core piece of who I am, right? And I call it the gutsy move. Yes, like, why did I apply 4 times, or how did I do this? It's the gutsy move. And I didn't even understand it at first. So, and let's put this out there. I went from being a cop to a Marine to a combat pilot to now a speaker and a coach. And I look at myself more as a mentor, right? Even though, of course, coaching is involved, because it's the evolution of going back to that very first poll to empower, my fellow sisters out there who are in male dominated fields, who are in tech, who are still working really hard at the Googles and the Facebooks. And when they see a promotion come out and it has 10 requirements, and they're like, oh, I have 9.5, I'm not qualified. And the guy says, I got half of one, I'm going for it. Like, are you kidding me? So it's the gutsy move. In your gut, you know it's right. It takes guts to do it, but there's a catch. You gotta take action. If you don't take action, nothing happens. There's a gutsy thought. It's not a gutsy move. So we have to stop pontificating on our fear. Just keep your head down, work hard. It's like, no, if people, like you said, Cynthia, if people don't know what you want and know your roadmap, and they're sitting around a table discussing who they're going to promote. Oh, what about John? Oh, John, yeah, good stand-up guy before. What about Steve? Oh yeah, Steve, da, da, da. What about Stephanie? Anybody know Stephanie? No, because it's Annette, and she doesn't say anything in every freaking meeting. They don't know what she's thinking or what she's bringing to the table. Okay, anybody know Jerry? Oh yeah, Jerry, da, 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 da. Right? So people have to hear from us. They have to see us. We have to speak up, stand up, step up, right? And for us, many times, it's a gutsy move. So the gutsy move in your gut, you know it's right. It takes guts to do it, but you got to take action. Now, there are steps to taking the gutsy move, which we don't have time to go into here today, but I have created the ultimate action guide for making your gutsy move. And you guys can go and download it and share it with your friends, share it with your network, share it with your leadership. I just put it in the chat. Get clear with FlyGirl, right? Because many times we don't take the action because we're not clear on what we really want. We're not clear on what steps to take. We're definitely not clear on what's going to happen on the other side, right? The fallout from that courageous conversation, because there's conflict. I was bullied as a kid. I was so conflict avoidant, even as an adult. It's ridiculous. But I couldn't go up to that drunk, belligerent guy as a cop and say, excuse me, sir, could you turn around and put your hands behind your back real quick? Like, no, turn around, put your hands behind your back. Like, I had to learn to be something different in the world, and to be able to stand up, use my voice, and make gutsy moves. And it's not about the huge moves. It's the small incremental choices, moves, actions that we make and take every single day with our husband, with our wife, with our kids, with our neighbor. My neighbor stopped me and they were like, oh my God, Vernice, George Floyd, what can I do? We love you. I said, it's not about loving me. It's about loving our country and our community. I need you to talk to all your white friends, because Black people, we don't have any power here. We need white people to step up, to speak up. Dr. King wasn't marching by himself, right? Abraham Lincoln, emancipation wasn't.
More about that,
right?
and how we can do that, Vernice, because that's a common theme too. Everybody wanting to help empower each other.
Which part? Which part? The racial reckoning in our country, or the? Say again.
To stand beside each other and help each other.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and believe it or not, that's a gutsy move for a lot of people. Like marching beside Dr. King was really gutsy. When I was in the squadron and I was the only female pilot, and stuff would happen and all the guys would be there, and then afterwards a guy would come up and say, man, Armour, that really sucked. I was like, but dude, why didn't you say anything? Because he wasn't going to skyline himself in front of everyone else. And when we move from this covering our own butt, CYA, you know what the A is, to standing up for each other and helping each other, we're going to create a different atmosphere. And to do that, it actually does start with conversation. And unfortunately, people say, well, that's too much talking. We need to actually do, because it ends with the conversation and we don't move towards the action steps, right?
Right. We want to
Right.
take that action. I want to go back to Carmen for a minute and really get Carmen to weigh in on what you're hearing here. Please, everybody, feel free to weigh in on the chat. You can jump in now and ask your questions. Maybe put up your hand or just unmute yourself. Lisa, let's let a few people unmute themselves and ask questions of Vernice or Stephanie Heath, an amazing career coach, or Carmen, who is an executive at IHG and has done this. We are getting some input on the chat. Melissa just wrote, it's hard because it was instilled in many of us to work hard and keep our heads down. So we want to get more into that. Carmen, what are your thoughts?
Actually, I've been reading that chat over and over, and I am dying to address it. So we are taught to keep our heads down as women, and our mothers and grandmothers teach you, you know, be humble and petite and dainty. But when you're looking down, well, all you see is your shoes. You
Right.
can't see your blessing coming. You can't see opportunities coming. And if you stay in your humble little comfortable bubble, you won't get what you deserve and what you desire. So understanding that that is how you are bred and that's what's been taught as proper. I lead an organization at IHG called Lean In, and it's a global organization, leanin.org. And everything that Vernice has talked about, as well as Stephanie, is encapsulated in what it stands for. And it has circles and it has empowerment, but at the end of the day, is to teach you to lean in at the board table, or lean in to the conversation, or lean in to the opportunity so that you can be heard. And if you've never said anything, Vernice said it best. When they get to that person that never says anything, nobody sort of knows them. You don't have an advocate or an ally because nobody has heard or paid attention to your work because you don't sort of promote it.
So
And the
how
other
did you
thing
do
is-
that in the beginning though, Carmen? Because you were maybe a little reluctant to speak up. I know oftentimes women suffer from wanting to have all the boxes checked, that we know all the answers, we know how to do the job 100%, so we may not step up. How did you break through that insecurity?
I've never had insecurity. I have a no fear policy. I have a no fear policy. I think Farrell may be on this call, but oh no, she's riding her motorcycle. But we had a thing called 23 questions, and it asked, if you had to do yourself in a statement, what would it be? And mine is no fear.
Okay.
What do you have
Well,
to be afraid
nevertheless-
of?
Nevertheless, Stephanie, I want to go back to you. Stephanie is amazing. She's soft-spoken. So Stephanie, how do you on a personal level conquer that soft-spokenness to get your message out and to be heard? Because a lot of us, you know, have that. We are introverts sometimes and a little shy.
Yeah, definitely. So what's worked for me and what's worked for my clients is to have an advocate in your corner. So whether you're in the job search or at work, just have someone that's quote unquote taken a liking to you that you can talk to. It doesn't have to be your manager. It could be, it's better if it's someone that's senior, maybe they're a mentor or an advisor to the founder, something like that. And just, you know, work really hard so that they notice you, and you'll have that relationship and they can kind of push you to speak up for yourself. So if you have, you know, goals to lose weight, or to, in this instance, speak up for yourself, you can hire someone to do that, or you can just have someone at work that can push you to do it.
Okay, so Vernice, that's a great
Yeah.
solution, and enlist that kind of support. But certainly once in your life, you must have been nervous and reluctant. How do you overcome that reluctance to use your own voice and to be heard?
There were many times I was reluctant. Again, I was conflict avoidant. I got bullied as a kid. So there was just already a lot to overcome that maybe other people didn't go through, right? I mean, even just recently, when I finally was looking at my wife in the eye, ex now, and I said, I'm filing for divorce. And I knew those were words I should have said a while before, and I had to work up the courage, and there was a lot of fear and what's going to happen and what about the kids and how and all of this stuff, right? But it's really about and the alternative, right? What if I didn't? What does my life look like? What does my future look like? What does that career look like? What does my peace of mind look like? My love, my fulfillment, what's my kids' life look like? If I stay in an unhappy relationship, am I teaching my daughter that this is how your relationship should look, right? So it's not what if I like don't, or do rather, it's what if I don't make that decision, right? That's the real, what is it costing you on the other side that like the people who want to be an entrepreneur, they want to get out, and then the security and the paycheck and the benefits. Then the recession hit back in 2008, and they were like, well, if I don't do it now, when would I ever do it? And they started these businesses, and they became multi-millionaires in as being an entrepreneur. Now, not saying that's everybody's story. Everybody that buys a lottery ticket don't hit the lottery, but you see what I'm saying? Like, what if they had said, no, like, thank God they got laid off and lost their job. Otherwise, they'd still be making $75,000 a year with some benefits. So when you are faced with that fear, I like to say, transform your fear to fuel. How do you use the exploding and bring it back in, focus it like a finely tuned laser to burn through the steel, burn through that barrier to get to the other side, right? So let me give you 5 steps real quick. Number 1, create your flight plan. Where are you? Where do you want to be? Do not think about the how. Direct order. Do not, because that's when you burst the bubble. You bring the dream down. Oh, I don't know how to. First of all, just be honest with yourself, which takes a lot of guts. What do you really freaking want? Whether you believe you can achieve it or not, what do you really want? Then you move to step 2, which is the pros and cons, mitigating the risks. How do I get there? Do I need the budget? Do I need a certification? Do I need a bachelor's degree? Do I need partners? Do I need allies? Whatever, a loan, whatever it is. Then number 3, take off, right? Then number 4, execute, where you're navigating the challenges and obstacles in every moment. And then step 5, review, recharge, reattack. It's 3 phases. Review your successes and your failures, right? You're going to learn a lot from you. We learn more from our failures than we do our successes even. But the successes, that's where we get our best practices. So don't just like, oh, I did it and keep going. Make sure you know why you were successful, right? So recharge emotionally, physically, and intellectually. Emotionally, take a Saturday morning off and read, have somebody take care of the kids. If you're a single mom, is there another single mom that you can partner with, or another family you can partner with to help with the kids, right? Because if you're not 100%, how are you going to give 100%? Physically, are you drinking water? Are we still working out? Or are we taking a walk around the lake? And then intellectually, that's why we're here today. With the ladies in pink, right? To intellectually grow, to stimulate ourselves to go further. And then finally, review, recharge, reattack, right? Reattack. There are only 2 ways to succeed: the first time or again. So I'll put that in the chat, because I know people that, wait, what did you say?
Oh my God, that's great. Well,
I'll put it in the
we've
chat.
written it all down too, and we're going to do a recap afterwards, and we're going to take Stephanie's been writing some great stuff, Annette's been writing some great stuff in the chat. Carmen contributed great stuff. Adele, we're going to take all this stuff down. We are going to do a recap. We want to go through and revisit some very specific, tangible takeaways that everyone who's participating today can do. I mean, certainly those things that Vernice just talked about, transforming your fear into fuel, creating your flight plan. Where do you want to go? Figuring out what you need to get there, take off, execute, navigate the obstacles, and then review. Why were you successful? Recharge, and then re-attack. I love that. We're going to go through some other solutions. 57% of the people on this call have said they're somewhat optimistic about breaking through. We're hoping everybody's a little more optimistic now. 38% want to empower each other. We talked a little bit about that. Anything else you guys want to say about how to get the promotion? Stephanie talked about the importance of enlisting advocates. We need to get everybody that promotion. Anything specifically focused on that, Vernice, Stephanie, and Carmen, that you want to add?
I mean, I don't want to take up a whole lot of stuff, but on getting the promotion, it's all data, right? The feedback, as Carmen was saying, it's just data. Take out positive, negative, it's not that. What information, if you didn't get it the first time, that you're able to do it the next time. But guess what? In order to get the promotion, you have to actually ask your hand and ask for the promotion. I've heard too many stories of folks saying, yeah, somebody told me to do it. I wasn't going to do it myself. And then I did it. And oh my God, I got it. Or that senior leader putting somebody in and the person didn't even know it. And then they got the promotion. Then they suffer with imposter syndrome and all that other kind of stuff. But right, you got to raise your hand.
Yeah.
We have to raise our hand.
Another common theme of this conversation and many of these leadership focused conversations is miscommunication. It's amazing how many times women in particular, there's a miscommunication about how much we want and our commitment and what we're willing to do and that we want to advance to that level. So somebody you work with may assume otherwise. So we have to make sure that they aren't making assumptions and find out why. Get the feedback, find out why you weren't promoted or why you didn't get that assignment. And then, as Vernice said, you can do that re-attack. Stephanie, you want to jump in, and then let's go to Carmen.
Just some tactical things to think about is being aware of when the promotion season is, setting a meeting or a conversation with your direct manager. I wouldn't make it be a meeting at first. I would just, depending on how close you are with that person, maybe over Slack or over coffee or during your one-on-one, being aware of, what your options are. And then, so for example, so with one client, we just made sure that, if she was going to move to another department, or if she could use that information as leverage, she was aware of if she could move to another department and being in touch with the person that managed that department, and then having someone that's there for you as you go through the process. So you'll have that first informal conversation, and then you'll maybe have more formal conversations depending on what comes from that initial one. And then being able to, as Vernice shares, re-attack. So you'll likely get a no first for various reasons. We don't do this, et cetera, et cetera. Just take the no, talk to someone that can help you form just what you're going to say to re-attack, and then re-attack. So I've done that before with someone, and it was a long drawn out process, but she was able to get the only promotion out of her company, and a salary increase when they gave none out. So hopefully that helps.
I love it. Oh my God, that's brilliant. Stephanie. Carmen, anything real quick to add?
And a closed mouth doesn't get fed. It goes back to what you said. Actually ask for the job. And I'm in sales, and we do PowerPoints, and we give you information, etc. Ask for the contract, ask for the business. And that's literally how I've gotten where I've gotten. As well, mentors, allies, advocates. You may not always be the voice, but you also want people that support you or see that opportunity and say, such and such would be great at this. You can also get appointed versus promoted. So position yourself to do so. Allies, advocates, and mentoring, and be very specific about what it is you want.
Okay, that's fantastic. I mean, those are some pretty fantastic, tangible takeaways. I hope everybody takes advantage of those. We're going to send it to you again in the recap. I want to go through real quick what's coming up next so that you know. Lisa's going to put the calendar up on the screen. This time next month, we're going to be talking about what companies are doing, very important to know. And then later in the season, we have some other really cool sessions coming up. We're going to be talking about how to be your own best advocate. We're going to talk about your well-being. We're going to talk about your executive presence, and then save the date on October 18th. October 18th, save the date. That will be Pink's 17th annual Fall Empowerment event. Lisa is going to put up a link for you on that. You're the first to hear about it. We will have among our speakers the Chief People Officer of Walmart. She's amazing, and a lot of other really fantastic speakers. We hope to see everybody in person. We are going to wrap this up in a moment, and then we'll have some informal networking. But first, throw into the chat recharge. Vernice talked about the importance of recharging. I mean, this stuff is intense. Give me one thing you do to recharge. What is one thing you love to do to recharge? Throw it into the chat for everybody to see. And as we're seeing it, speaking of recharging and self-care, just join me in one quick stretch, everybody. Thank you, Vernice. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Carmen. You guys are amazing. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Try to stick around for this informal networking. We talked about the importance of networking. This is going to be your chance to speak up. It will be off the record. Lisa is going to turn off the recording now. Goodbye, everybody. See you next time. Break those barriers.